Ben, it's really good to have you here this morning, mate.
Thanks, Simon. Appreciate the invitation.
Awesome, mate. Yeah, look, I'm really excited because I'm going to do a bit of a video series for people. I'm going to really remain impartial. I've eaten meat for 45 years of my life. I'm now 48. I'm now a vegetarian. But I don't believe in fundamentalism or anything. I don't believe in fundamentalism of any kind, whether it be religious, food, or anything like that. And I believe it's really important because there's a lot of information in the world today about meat, putting it down, about this and about that. There's a lot of people, a lot of misinformation about diet in general. It's the same with exercise. I'm a boxing coach. I've been in the fitness industry 30 years. There's a lot of just misinformation about everything. And what I thought today was, if people were going to eat meat, I thought, wow, I met you at the Warriewood Markets a couple of weeks ago. And I thought, what a great opportunity to find out from somebody who's devoted their life to this industry and the way you're doing it, to get that information out to people about also about why you do what you do, about the importance of sourcing good meat, etc. And so I guess I'd like to open up, starting with Ben, asking you what got you started initially into, I guess, this industry, and why now are you doing this? So what got you started?
Mate, we obviously I own the free range butcher and we sell grass-fed and organic meat. We do online and farmers markets, which is where I grew up on a farm in northwestern New South Wales, a small town. We live 30 k's out of town, and the farming. I'm not a butcher by trade, although I know what to do and what's going on.
So you grew up on a farm, huh?
Yeah, right. Some farm boy, country boy, in and out.
Yeah.
Went to boarding school down in Sydney, and then went back to the farm. I worked in northern Jackarooing and done a lot of different stuff in the country, but come from it from a agriculture point of view and off farm. And the reason we started the business 12 years ago now was to bring, because we knew we had good meat. It was grass-fed meat. At the time, I didn't realise that grass-fed meat was a big thing, or it was different, or it was before the surge of the benefit of grass-fed meat and organics had come. I was only just starting, so and that's what sort of kicked us off. So we wanted to go in because I saw a very big disconnect. And in living in the city, I went to boarding school down here in Sydney. I saw a very big disconnect with people and their food, and they didn't understand food. It was just milk out of a 2-litre carton.
Right. So people just go to the shops.
Yeah,
and just stuff.
And no real idea. So I thought we had that connection, and we could tell people where their meat came from.
Right.
And obviously we had the farm. That was our supply.
Right.
And then we sourced direct off other farmers. So I mean, I've always had an interest. I've always enjoyed meat. Always liked meat. One of my passions, or my it's probably this passion's a weird way to say it, but is the traceability of product and knowing where that product's come from, and how it's been treated during its life, where from conception and the bull and the cow, and how that then the genetics then follow through to the quality of product, which can be a 2 or 3 year experience depending on what animal you're talking about. And then knowing, and this is a bit morbid for a lot of people get freaked out about it. But seeing that animal in the paddock, know it's being treated well, slaughter it humanely, look after it after it's passed, look after the meat, and then enjoy the meat and enjoy all of it. Like that animal's given its life for you, intentionally.
So it's having a bit of, gratitude for that.
A gratitude and a lot of respect for it.
Yeah.
And the more I got into it and the more I got into the business, I realised that the people really consumers didn't understand, and I mean not everybody thinks like I do about that sort of thing, but a lot of consumers didn't even understand what went on to get the meal on their plate there.
Yeah.
Didn't understand the processes or the work or the effort or the dollars behind it, or why they paid this much for that and nothing for that. Why this has got flavour and that doesn't have any flavour, but they just continue to consume and don't understand the processes that happen behind it.
Yeah, so there's just this massive disconnect, I guess, between consumer and what they're and the animal, I guess, and what your business does is it kind of brings that process a bit closer, I guess, or that relationship a bit closer.
Yeah, so we try being transparent. I mean, as small business is, sometimes it's difficult times, constraints and money constraints make it difficult. But we always try and have that transparency. I'm always at the farmers markets, or people always, my numbers all over the place. People can always talk to me and ask me, about what it is that we do, and how we get the product there. And it's a relationship with the farmers. We've outgrown all our farms in drought anyway, but we've outgrown our farms, so we source 100% of our product off farm now, off our farm from other farmers.
Right.
And you're right. It's that connection and trying to educate the consumer about the processes and why. I think meat is very cheap. I mean, ours is not cheap, but you go into a supermarket or something like that, and I think meat and veggies are well underpriced in where they should be, and that has an effect on the quality of the product. It still might be fresh, but if people are paying less for stuff because that's the market forces driving that, then that affects how that product is produced, and the only the quality goes, your nutrient value goes, your flavour goes, and all those sort of things disappear when you need to grow faster, bigger, quicker.
So you were talking just a moment about humanely killing an animal. We've had a conversation about that. Would you explain? You could have had a conversation with me roughly about that. And so, people don't even want to hear about this because they just don't want to think about, I guess, the fact that there was a living animal and now they're eating that animal. There's just that disconnect. Can you explain a bit about, I guess, why the free range butcher is just that the way you go about what you do with that stuff as well. So I don't believe there's really any. I mean, I guess no animal wants to die, but if it's going to die, and I think we talked about this before about I guess if it's commercial, there's just really no way of doing it. I mean, but you I guess the way you get it done is probably the best way that it can be done, right, in the market. And so, do you want to talk a little bit about that process?
Yeah, that's the part of the process the only part of the process we're not in control of.
Sure.
Is the slaughter.
Sure.
Slaughterhouses are big machines. You're dealing with a high cost environment where the numbers have got to go through to make it viable. So there's got to be some sort of mechanics involved in it. I mean, ideally,
that's right. It's because it's consumed and we're consuming it. It's got to be a commercially viable business.
Has to be. And I mean, these days, a lot of the big companies are coming in and buying up all the abattoirs. There used to be a lot more. There used to be another probably 3 or 4 or 5 abattoirs that have closed down in the 10 years that we've been operating.
Right, small operation.
Smaller family style operations.
Right.
Lower numbers, older equipment, older sheds. And
right.
then just the upgrades and the regulations, everything. It's just gone.
Gone, right.
And that in itself is a shame because you end up. I mean, it's good. It's good in a way that the regulations are tighter and tighter and tighter. So then you get better, and it's more about hygiene than anything else.
Right.
So you get a better quality product out the end, but it becomes a commodity. The animal becomes a commodity.
Right.
And it's just a game of numbers. And if your job is to be on the kill floor and slaughter animals all day, you get detached from what you're doing.
Yes.
And then it just becomes another job. And that's just part and parcel of human nature and what that is. Now, I mean, in a perfect world, we would slaughter at home on farm.
Yeah, right.
And that animal's got a mouthful of grass and it doesn't even know what's going on and it's gone.
Yeah.
And we all like to go like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's right. If you're going to go, that's the way
you
you want.
Yeah. Go in your sleep. But the realities are of life that death occurs to all of us. We've been very removed as a society from the process and also death itself. So we see death as humans. Everyone fears death in a way,
right?
And it's the way that we handle death. I think that is the biggest problem.
Right.
And as a farm kid, I quickly learnt that death is very much part of life.
Yes.
And I mean, we had cold snaps on our farm where we'd lose hundreds of ewes and lambs and like.
Yeah. Wow.
I remember in the drought in the 90s, I drove the truck and my dad went around and shot sheep and threw them on the truck, and that's all we did for days.
Oh wow.
So I mean, that brings home a very large reality on what death is, and that is, and I mean that experience with my dad, like that's there's a money side of it, but there's an emotional side of it too.
Yeah.
From the farmer, like that is not something that he wants to do. Like that broke my dad. We did not say a word all day.
Wow.
That broke his heart having to do that.
Yeah.
But it teaches you as a kid that death is very, very imminent. Like it's coming like a freight train.
Yeah.
And it's the way we handle it that I think is the biggest problem. Like we've got an attitude towards death that we don't look at, we don't respect it enough, and we definitely don't respect it enough within animals. And now these days it's becoming an issue around sentient beings and going, oh well, we that's okay to die that one, but that one over there's not.
Right.
Well, to me, life is life.
Life is life. We're all equal.
We're all equal.
Yeah.
And everything's sentient. Like whether you've got a seed, you can get clover seeds, right? And the drought that's on at the moment, that seed will get water, sunlight, right temperature, and it won't seed. And summers will go. It can last 100 years.
Wow.
And then all of a sudden, everything's right. It knows it's right. Bang, I'm going.
Right.
Now, how can you not say that plant's not sentient? That hasn't got feelings. It obviously had feelings. Otherwise, it would have shot at the first point of moisture.
Right.
So to me, it's a whole cycle. It's a life cycle.
Cycle.
Now, as far as animals are concerned, then we have to send to an abattoir. That's part of the regulations. We can't do anything about that.
Yes.
Death is never nice. I don't think anyone's enjoyed dying.
Yeah, it's not a topic that people like to even think about, let alone talk about.
Well, that's what I mean. Look, we're removed from that process, but it's so much a part of our life.
Exactly.
That whether it's human or not. I mean, I had a mate of mine pass away a couple of years ago, and he initially had bowel cancer, but then he ended up with lung cancer, and passed away. And I was in the hospital with him for the last 24 hours. Now, I mean, that was a horrible way to die. But no one's complaining about that, and that's happening hundreds, thousands of times a day, millions of times a day all over the world. Yet people are jumping up and down because they're worried about how a cow or another animal is getting treated for their food. I think that there's some double standards there that we've got.
Right.
Going back to the abattoir again, I think if you're moving through those many numbers, then they become a commodity, and it is a numbers game. They're dispatched quickly, they're dispatched as humanely as possible, and there's always cowboys in it, and you see lots of stuff on propaganda and stuff like that, where you're going to get cowboys that do dumb shit, that are desensitized to everything, and whatever industry you're in, you're going to get those cowboys.
Yeah.
It's just that these guys are responsible for life, and they need to have more respect for what they're doing. But they don't understand that. And look, I mean, if you're working in an abattoir, you're not a high-paid, well-educated person, and that's a very generalised statement. And I'm not saying that's the way it is, but I mean, if you're on that kill floor, that's and I mean, I've slaughtered my meat, and I would, in a perfect world, I'd slaughter my meat every time. Yeah. Myself. Yeah. I'll take responsibility for it. I'll do it myself. Yeah. But when you put it in the hands of other people, then you have to.
Yes. And I guess what you're doing is you're trying to source the best quality meat and take it to the best abattoir so that it can be looked after the best way. That's what I've heard you say to me.
And that's where it is. I mean, we've got the choice of a couple. We still deal with a relatively smaller family-run abattoir.
And can you tell me a bit more about also when you talk about that, the process, and then tell me about we talked about what the end product looks like compared to maybe some of when an animal's not treated well or when it's under high stress. Yep. So would you go through a little bit about that process as well? And I guess to you guys that are watching this today, look, if you're going to eat meat, this is why I'm talking to my friend here, Ben, is about the quality of the meat and why it costs a little bit more, and maybe why you need to go down this path versus just going to Woolies and getting your cheap meat, because there is a huge, vast, different quality of the meat and the way the animal's been treated through that process, I would say, is what we talked about. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, freshness is one thing, but the quality of the product and everything else. Abattoirs are there to make money. They're a business. They got to make money out the other end. If they were doing a bad job and consistently doing a bad job, they wouldn't be in business, because the way they operate their business is directly reflects in the product that's coming out the other end. So if you have an animal that's stressed, like when we stress, your lactic acid builds up.
Yes.
And at that point of stress, an animal in that point doesn't get the opportunity to calm down. It's too late for him to calm down. They're not taking him off. They just keep pushing through the chain. So they will be slaughtered in a stressful state, and that lactic acid buildup turns meat very dark red, makes it very tough.
Oh, so it turns meat really dark.
Yeah, like a real ruby, like an old cow, real ruby sort of colour. You know, just looking for a colour, but a real ruby sort of. Yeah, can go purple nearly.
Wow.
Now, if that was happening consistently, they'd have a really ordinary product out the other end, and they wouldn't be able to sell it. Or the receiver like us, who they're slaughtering out of contract, then comes to me and I go, what are you doing with my product?
Yeah.
You know, so as a business, they can't. It's in their interest to keep that animal as calm as possible in a low stress environment. Treat it as well as it can all the way through the process. So then they've got a really good product that they can sell, or that their customers like ourselves then receive. It's not in their interest to treat the animal like crap, and to beat it and hit it and prod it and all that sort of things. Like it doesn't work. I mean, they're hitting something and whacking it with sticks or polypipe or whatever it is on the way in, which probably was the go years and years ago.
Yeah.
The meat all bruises, like it's got marks all over it. You can see the fresh bloodlines right through the muscle when that happens. You know, because you think you're bruised, you got all that's bruised. Well, you got a really fresh bruise, and then take the skin off and you see what's underneath.
It's blood.
That's right, and that's what we're seeing when we receive the carcass. So all that is 100% visible when that carcass turns up.
Yeah, right.
So we understand that process. We can look at it and go, that's been slaughtered well. It's been slaughtered humanely. I'm not saying it wasn't stressed, but it wasn't stressed off its head. And the practices too on farm, animals are handled a lot more these days than years ago. And the legal side of it, like you don't want, as a farmer, you don't want an animal that's cranky or angry or gets stressed on your farm. Like you sell them, and you keep the quiet ones, because you want to be able to handle your cows. And when we can walk through our cows, and our cows will be all, I mean, they're not going to be right beside you, but they're, no bigger than this room, all our cows can stand around us. They'll come up in the paddock and just stand there and look at us.
Yeah, right.
You can walk through them, they'll play and have a bit of, the young ones, boom, and they'll run off and then they come back. But they're not fearful of you. They're quiet. Anything that wants to kick or strike, or when we're handling them in the yards, or want to have a go at you, just we sell them. And all farmers are like that, because they don't want their workers injured. They don't want themselves damaged. They don't want their yards and everything like that damaged. And when one animal stresses, then it can stress those around it.
The whole paddock, right?
And it all sort of escalates. Right. So there's a lot of low stress management techniques that have come in the last 10 to 15 years on farm, that then help all the way through the process. So then they're easier to transport because they're quieter. They're quieter once they get to the abattoir, and everything's just everyone tries to keep it as calm as possible.
Okay, fantastic. And so what can you say? What would you say to the consumer watching this today, the person watching this today who goes, oh, it's a really interesting talk. What's some advice about meat that you'd like to tell them? What about it? Also, the question I was going to ask you, we had a conversation, but we're talking about the amount of meat we were eating. And I mean, you're a butcher. This is a job you sell, but you had a few things to say about that. So, what is your opinion about the amount of meat we're eating on a daily basis?
Oh, look, I think the consumption in Australia has fallen, in the last few years. But I think personally, I eat much less meat than what I used to. And I mean, we do a lot of vegetarian meals and vegetarian days at home.
Yes.
And I think, like I said to you, it's not overly good for business to be promoting that. But I look at the other end and I go, well, if I can get a customer and then keep them alive for another 10 years, well, then maybe I'll get 10 years out the other end and we're still getting out.
Still getting money.
I mean, I don't know like that, but what I mean? Like,
sure.
I think it's look, there's science out there. You got to eat lesser quality of a lesser quantity of a better quality product.
Yes.
I mean that you don't have to be a rocket scientist to work that out.
Yeah.
And I think the days are gone of sitting down to having big steaks. I mean, a mate and I had we went to a steakhouse actually last night for dinner in town, and we had a ribeye and shared it. That was enough for us.
Yeah, wow.
Salads and greens and stuff like that. Probably left too much room for wine, but like it's I think that, and I think sharing that piece of meat too has got something in it as well.
Right.
about sharing a meal rather than everyone having their individuals. Like if you put something down, you can cut it up and then you share it. It's that I think that sharing of a meal I think is important as well. But I mean, look, the health aspect for it, I think is clearly there that we need to eat less and a better quality product. The problem is now you got a lot of shit meat out there. You got a lot of old meat out there that's been in a carton or a bag for months.
Yeah, wow.
You know, and although it's safe to eat, it's fine, and it is. They call it wet aging, and it is, and I think that's a marketing term to make it sound good.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But when you buy from, and it's not everyone. These are very general statements.
Yeah.
But I mean, when you buy cheap meat, there's a reason it's cheap.
Yes. Something
suffered along the way. There is no cheap meat. And when you buy cheap meat from Coles and Woolies, like they don't make money off their meat counter. They don't make money off their fruit and veg. They make the money when you buy your twisties and your Coke and all the bullshit that's on the inside, and your toilet paper and your cans of this and your deodorant and everything else.
Yeah.
That's when they make their money.
Yeah.
And this is what gives a false impression of what meat should be. Like we should be eating much less of it. It should be higher priced. And I'm not saying that because I want to take more money from people.
Yes.
But then we would eat less. There wouldn't be the forces on the farmer then to go, okay, I need to produce more to make my money, because as farmers we're price receivers. We don't dictate our price. And you go to market with your product, it gets bought by whoever, processed, whatever it is, but you receive your price.
I really like what you're saying there. It's like you need to, I think we undervalue the most important things of our life, which is, our food, water. We undervalue that. We don't really want to pay for, I guess, good high quality food and all the things that are really important to us, like our health. But we'll go and spend a lot of money on a new car or a fucking new watch or a thing things that don't really matter. But yet this is really important. This involves our lives, involves people's lives, and the planet as well. I guess the ecosystem that we live in. And I guess if we have to pay for that, well, I think the value of that goes up. We start to value that as a high value. But I think when we try to get cheap all the time, we're undervaluing what's really important, which is all of this stuff. This is what's really important, and then if we value that properly, then really other stuff falls into significance compared to what that is. I think whenever I bought something, whether it be a car or a watch or a new something, it has to really has a novel feeling for a period of time, and generally a very short time, whether it be a minute, an hour, a day, or a week, or a month, or even a year. But that's got a very much an expiry date, and I want something else. And I think it's talking to people like this about the value proposition of what we're doing. And I think exactly what you're saying. Like if we're going to eat meat, buy good meat. I guess quality meat that's kind of been has had more of a better quality of life, a better quality of ending. And it's also, if we're paying for it, it's something of value. We're actually giving it value, and I guess appreciation, I think, is gratitude for what's happened, because literally another animal has passed and for me to live. And I guess that's the message here, that this is not just a stick that we're eating, or it's not just anything. It's actually had a life, and it's sacrificed it for us. And I think back in the days we used to go out and we've always eaten meat in some way, but we'd have to go and hunt for that animal, and there would be all rituals around that, and there'd be a really kind of like a celebration, I guess, like a feast ceremony around that animal and that food. And I think nowadays we just go to the shop. There's such a disconnect from what we're buying on the shelves, so we just go and buy it and eat it. There's no connection to the land or to nature. We live in, I guess, these concrete walls every day, and we go to work in concrete, and very rarely do we even get our shoes off, and feel the earth. And I think that's what, I guess, I don't know how you feel, but I kind of think that's the missing element. If we're going to eat meat, it's fine, whatever. If we're going to do whatever we're going to do, but have some kind of connection, I guess, to that process, or that whole life cycle, I guess, that we're involved in. So because I've listened,
we're responsible for it.
We're responsible for it, yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's the key. And it's not just about meat too. I mean, it's any food that you eat. Like anything that we do. And this goes back to the life and death argument too.
Yes.
So whether you're a vegetarian, and I mean, I've had conversations with vegans, very hardline vegans about meat and vegetables, and how my product kills the earth, and I'm a killer and a slaughterer and all this sort of stuff.
Right.
And,
so there's a very black and white thinking.
Yeah. But you know, you need to, and there's so much propaganda on the internet. I mean, even that game, and just someone had pulled me up about that at a market the other day and had a crack at me. So I went back and watched it again, and I mean, you know, once you know where that is coming from, I mean, a proper documentary's got both sides and analyses all aspects of everything. Well, you know, that doesn't, and even in that context, I mean, those guys created the you know, the burger. Like they're just selling burgers. That's all they're doing with that thing, you know.
Right.
And it's a very smart marketing ploy. I've got to give them that.
Right.
They're peddling a lot of misinformation about animals and what the context is. I mean, if you can compare factory farmed products to anything, not anything, but any sort of quality vegetarian, vegan, or healthy, let's just call it a healthy product, of course that healthy product's going to come in way in front of any sort of factory farm product.
Yes.
Way in front. You know, whether it's emissions, whether it's carbon, you know, methane or quality nutrient dense product, whatever aspect you're looking at, you know, your factory farm stuff's going to lose.
So it's the same thing. So I guess you're comparing factory farm animals and factory farmed fruit and vegetables. It's same. But if you're kind of getting more of an organic fruit and vegetable and organic,
that's right,
organic
or good quality grass-fed meat, you know,
right.
Well then you compare that to a healthy product. Well, you know what? That is actually healthy food. It's a nutrient-dense product. Like meat is one of the most nutritious sources of many micronutrients and proteins and amino acids you can get.
Yes.
Now, a lot of vegans think that because they're vegan and vegetarian that they're not killing anything by the way they live or by the way they're consuming their food. But as a farmer, like even if you're farming organically, you're killing animals on your farm, or you're killing stuff.
Exactly. Yeah, they're also part of the farming process. Yeah.
You know,
because you're toiling the soil, you're mixing everything up. It's all exactly.
And organic's only a shroud that we've put over a way of a process, a way of doing something.
Yeah.
So humans have gone, oh, that chemical's okay, but that one's not. That's okay, but that one's not. So if you look at the amount of chemicals that are used on organic farms, there's a list of chemicals that you can use.
Oh wow, right, yeah.
Pesticides and herbicides and things like that. Now a lot of them are softer style, and organic absolutely is the way forward. I'm not saying it's not. The certification I've got issues with.
Yes.
That's another thing we could talk about for hours.
Yeah.
But we all need to be eating less food, better quality, and as organic as we can. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, as close to the source as you can get.
And as close to the source. And the biggest problem is, I feel, is the source has been removed and the industry's pushed the source away from the consumer, so the consumer doesn't know anything.
Yeah.
But every peach looks like this one, you know? They all look the same, but they all taste like shit.
Yeah.
You know, when you go to the markets and you buy like an old variety peach from the person who grew it, and you eat that and you go, holy shit, that is a peach.
Yeah.
Like that.
It tastes like a peach.
That's a peach.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And it's a different flavour, it's a different everything. And if there's flavour, there's nutrients.
Yeah.
You know, you have that carrot every now and again, you get the carrot and you go, whoa, that's a carrot.
Yeah.
Well, that carrot has probably been grown in the ground instead of hydroponically.
Yes.
Probably been fed, you know, it's been fed, or it's gathered its own micronutrients and nutrients from the soil, and if their soil's healthy, it's got lots of organic matter, and the biome and the soil is really good, and it's pulling and taking all that nutrients up very easily instead of being fed chemicals, nitrogen, phosphates, you know, whatever it is, through a watering system in hydroponically. Now, why does a farmer go hydroponically? Because Coles says, I want carrots for $2 a kilo. Yeah. Because I need to sell them for $2.50 a kilo. And the farmer goes, shit, well, how am I going to do that? Well, I can't do it in the ground anymore, so I've got to put a shed up, I've got to put lights up, and I've got to put them in there. Yeah. You know? And the consumer goes, I'm still eating a carrot, and my carrots are cheaper. And you know what? I'm going to go to Coles or Aldi because the carrots are $2.10 instead of paying $4 or $6 for the organic ones. Yeah, exactly. You know? Yeah. And I think actually, I had a great, I had a person, actually, I'll mention his name because he's really cool. It's like Tyler Tolman, but I actually thought I was going to say that for a second. But yeah, you're talking about that's right. We kind of got this idea that organic food
we don't want to pay for it, but like we're in this trouble because we don't want to pay for the food, and it's the stuff that doesn't look the best. We want everything to look good. We don't give a shit about what it tastes like. You know what I mean? That's what I was going to say. He said our human birthright. There shouldn't be a term organic. Our food should be grown in the ground. Full stop. But that birthright of healthy food, good clean food, and water has been taken away. Everything's touched, so we drink our water supplies full of chlorine and fluoride. There's reasons for that, but the fluoride maybe not so much. But I understand we're in in a city and we've got to feed everyone. But like, there's consequences for all these things. So I think, I guess the purpose of today is just to give you some education. Stop taking shortcuts. Pay for what's important, which is your health, because it'll catch up with you at some stage.
If you eat less, the most, people come in to us and go, how much is your eye fillet? And I go, man, you're not paying for it. Like you're looking for a cheap product. You know what I mean? Yeah. But you know what? Don't buy the eye fillet. Or if you're going to buy it, don't eat 500 grams of it. Eat 100, 150 grams. Yeah. Or share the 500 with your family. Yeah. And then eat vegetables, but eat less. Eat less of a better quality product. Your food bill, okay, it might go up a little bit, but it's not going to, you want 500 grams of eye fillet every day and you want the best all the time, pay through the nose. Yeah. But your body's going to pay.
That's right, because it can't process that much anyway.
Back in, and it's pointless. Like you can consume 50 grams of protein per meal, I think.
Right. Oh, okay. Yep.
So if like 150 grams of meat is 20 something grams of protein, like you can't. Right.
We're eating for taste and for pleasure and all that kind of stuff. We're not really understanding, but this is the fuel. This is our life source.
Well, that's right. Yeah. I mean, as a human, like if you think of us years ago, and you touched on before when communities slaughtered an animal previously, like it was a feast. They did it. They saved it. They used all of it. Yes. And when it was fresh, they ate as much as they could.
That's true.
And then they didn't eat it for a while. Yeah. Because you know what, they don't have the goats or the sheep or the amount of meat, so they just eat it once and then they eat less, and they're on vegetarian then for another week or two or whatever it is, and then boom, then they do another one. And the bone broths and everything else that can go around it, you can get cheaper cuts, you can buy smaller portions, but buy the better quality. Like if it's cheap, there's a reason that chicken is 10. Like when there's chicken, I walk past and I see these massive big chicken breasts, $9.99 a kilo. Yeah. Holy shit. And I go, I can't buy chicken for $9.99 a kilo. Yeah. I cannot buy it for that money. Yeah. And I go, who's that? I mean, that chicken has been grown. You can see all the stretch marks on it when they get the white lines in the chicken. You know? That's because the chicken's growing faster than what the muscle can do it. Wow. You're talking about a chicken coming out in 28 or 35 days or something like that. Like they've just been genetically engineered to put on weight for the least amount of to be so well in tune just to put the greatest amount of weight on for the minimal amount of feed, because the feed's the cost. Yeah. And so literally you're growing chicken for $10 in 30 days. Like you said, the animal is just a commodity. There's no attachment to that animal. It's just grown for a single purpose to eat. Don't even see the sun. And that's what gets me. And then people are flocking to that. Yeah, I'm going there to buy my $9 chicken, $9 chicken. So every time you do it, you support it. And you support that industry that's then just the chicken. What sort of life's got the chicken got? The chicken never sees the sun. Can't even. But people don't care. They don't care about that. I always want a $10 chicken. They're so detached. We're so detached that's just a chicken. Not my chicken. I don't have to kill it. I just eat it. No. But I guess that's right. I guess, and look, I think it's a really, really good point, mate. That's really a good way to kind of put in perspective that we just kind of consume. There's no fucking attachment to that. The health industry now, the medical industry now is, has invested trillions of dollars into cancer research over the last 20 years, 30 years, who knows? Cancer's going up through the roof. Not just for meat eaters, but for everybody. Toxins are everywhere, and all we're worried about is the mighty dollar. And I think if we start investing into our health first, is really what we're saying here. I guess the message here is invest into good quality food, eat right, spend the money, look after yourself is important, and also it starts to the knock-on effect then is a healthier planet, right? We're not, massively. Yeah. And I mean, it's, you know, the agriculture industry and grazing animals have a, and this is what shit me the most about that Game Changers job.
Yeah.
Like the misunderstanding that people don't have about how animals and grasslands work and how much carbon can be sequestered. I mean, cows are copping an absolute pizzling at the moment because of this whole methane thing. You know? And of course, how much, you know, agriculture, you know, adds to our climate change and everything else. And I mean, the reality is, and there's plenty of science to back this up. Yeah. Is that grazing animals do more for our environment than what everyone thinks they do. So in that whole process of carbon, and if you think of, I'll take a step back. As a farmer, we grow grass, right? Meat is a byproduct of what we do. Yeah. Okay. So we look after our soil. You have a really good, healthy soil, high compostable matter, high organic matter, high humus, which is what then holds the water and all the micronutrients then work and the biome works. Then you get really healthy, nutritious grass. Now, when the cows eat that grass, then they get really nutritious meat because they're eating a really nutritious product. Now, in the environmental side of that, as if you mow your lawn lots, right, and keep it high, your lawn grows thicker. And then it does grass, and it's the same in the paddock, right? So we manage our cows when we've got grass.
You've got grass and water,
in high rotation, so they're in small groups, going in larger groups in smaller paddocks, right? And they stay there for less amount of time. So they eat the grass quickly, they manure it, they disturb the soil, and then move on to a next paddock. Now that paddock they've been in then has got it's been aerated. There's been soil disturbance, so seeds then start to move a little bit and start to look at, you know, for action. It's been manured, so it's been fertilised. It's been mowed down. So then what happens? The grass wants to shoot again. And what's grass do? Grass photosynthesizes, uses carbon, pulls carbon out of the atmosphere and grows. So the more we graze our land, the more carbon that we can sequester from the atmosphere. And in well-managed grasslands, in that particular way, like regenerative farming's got a really big push now. Right. And regenerative farming, I think, is the way forward. It encompasses organic and biodynamic and biodynamic and all those sort of principles. But regenerative is the word where you're regenerating the land you've got. So you're making it better than what it was before. You're not just using it, you're not abusing it, but you're regenerating it.
Allowing it to keep going for future generations.
Yeah, and building it up, building your topsoil, building your organic matter, and that is one of the biggest things that will save us. And the whole, I think agriculture will only get its kicker and the money where it is to make it, really viable. And its place, I think, is when we start carbon trading, and then people realise how much carbon a well-managed farm that's farming regeneratively, that's on high rotations, can sequester. And I've read, and I don't know whether this is true, but I've read that a square metre of well-managed grasslands sequesters as much carbon as a square metre of rainforest, rainforest, if it's well managed. And as far as the methane is concerned, like when there's actual a square metre of grass is going to the decomposing matter is going to exude methane.
Yes.
Right, because you've got breaking down of organic matter, right? So because it goes through the cow, it still, that same amount of methane still comes out.
Right, yeah.
So whether the cow eats it or whether it breaks down quickly or not, it's the same amount of methane.
Right.
But when the pastures are well managed, and actually when it goes through the cow, because of the cow's unique gut system, it's got 4 stomachs that break down the fibres and everything in it, and the cellulose and everything in the grass. It actually then promotes bacteria in the soil, which actually consume methane. So, well, there's all these sorts of the benefits that the cow actually adds that are just being left behind, and people just take, it's a methane producer, methane's a problem, carbon's a problem. So, and they just get, and if you compare factory farming to anything, factory farming's shit.
Yeah.
There's so much going on around it. It's so expensive for the environment. It's crap. And if you get the shows or any propaganda, factory farming compared to this, this is always going to win. That natural farming is always going to win out. But no one, and the tests haven't been done, and no one compares a well managed grassland to what it is. We can't all be vegetarian.
No.
We can't feed the world. Everyone thinks we can, but you can't just plant something in some soil and expect it to grow. So we've got to have a balanced diet, and people have got to choose to be vegetarian because of their reasons around.
Mine was health, and I eventually did do it for ethical reasons, and my main reason was for health. I was suffering with my health, and I was also eating too much, with too much meat, just way too much meat, and eggs, and sugar as well was a big thing as well. No one really, we talk about it, but really it was one of the big things in my life. I was over eating sugar and processed carbohydrates. But I think from what you're saying, if we, like you said, factory farming is killing the planet. Or whether it be fruits and vegetables, whether it be meat, whatever. Yeah. Factory farming is killing the planet. But really the reason because it's killing the planet is we want cheap, we want it easy, we want it accessible, we want it now. It's not really factory farming that's killing the planet. It's us that are choosing to spend our money in that manner.
Yes,
we're voting for that with our wallets, and I think if we decide to go, okay, look, I want to eat meat, good. And if you want to eat 500 grams of meat a day and you want to, the health consequences are there, but pay for it. Because firstly, it's going to be better for the environment. It's grown on a healthier grassland. The animals been looked after better. The end product's better. If we eat less meat, we've got less land clearing going on, and we don't have to do. There's not as much. And if we buy for organic, and if we buy the higher quality stuff, there's going to be less demand for the shit. So actually, probably the prices of all will drop down and become more fair and more even anyway.
Yeah, more systems get in place as is, or you pay more and the farmer gets a bit more.
The farmer gets a bit more.
And then who's,
It's a win-win.
Well, I think the farmer needs to get more for his product. I mean, they're producing food for us to survive. So if you're producing quality product, then they should be able to demand, or we should be able to demand then a price, because a lot of time, especially in recent,
a fair price, because they're going broke.
Well, you sell something, you go, that cost me $3 a kilo, and I just sold it for $3.10. Like, just worked all year for nothing.
Yeah.
So then what's the interest? So then the human nature is, well, how do I cut costs to try and do that? So we don't have to do that. Like, more farmers then go, what? I don't want to choose that 10,000 chickens in that shed. I'm just going to run 500 chickens out here, and I can afford to run my family, pay back the bank from my farm off my 500 chickens instead of having 50,000 of the bloody things in the shed.
That's true.
Because years ago chickens were a delicacy. Now they're $10 a kilo.
Yeah.
And we created it.
Yeah, we created it. That's right. We need to take personal responsibility. So thanks so much for your time, Ben. I really appreciate it, mate. Thanks for sharing your knowledge, and look, I hope you guys got something out of today. It was just really trying to be unbiased and give you guys some information about really about healthy, good quality food. We've got a few more interviews coming up over the next few weeks with a heart attack victim. We've got another one we've got a few really interesting videos coming up anyway, just to let you know, with conversation with Simon. And thanks again for today, Ben.
Mate, pleasure always, and happy to come back.
Awesome.